PrincessPashley. It's so good to be with you. How you doing today? What's up?
I'm so tired, but it's okay. I'm on my second cup of coffee. We'll never forget to drink a cup of coffee again.
Hashtag never
That's
forget.
What we call,
always remember.
That's what we call addiction.
It's a delicious addiction. Yes.
Absolutely.
Sacrilegious.
Are you a coffee drinker or tea? Always coffee. Okay.
Coffee. Yeah, I just love it. It's just part of my morning. It's like a ritual. It's delicious, and I can never get enough of it until it's about afternoon, and then it's beer 30. Okay. Yeah.
What's weed 30? Is that evening or
weed 30's all day? It's 4:20 somewhere all the time. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Gosh. It's fucking so nice to be with you. Let's go ahead and launch into the questions, I guess. So we start off with just you introducing yourself, your name, your pronouns, and where people can find you on the World Wide Web.
So I am PrincessPashley. This is my castle, my dojo behind me. No, so I am a Twitch streamer, but I also create content on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and I'm on the Twitters making word noises, hoping people like my stuff, like all the rest of us streamers, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just trying to do the best I can.
Cool. Hash. Well, what else do we need to know about you? I think one thing I'd like to ask is like how we know each other, and this was a good one because we knew each other from Twitch Sings, which doesn't even exist on Twitch anymore. It's so sad.
It was so disappointing because I think it was just the twist of the knife in coronavirus, the pandemic. And I think what went through my head when the pandemic first hit was, well, at least I got Twitch Sings because like my singing jobs weren't, I wasn't allowed to sing live. I'm operatically trained. That's another fun tidbit about me. And so my church job like basically got shut down, and I was just like, oh, well, at least I get to sing in Twitch Sings. And then they're like, no, au contraire. So that was sad, but yeah, I sang with you and you sang with me. And I think there's like kind of, I met my current boyfriend, B. Liddy, Brian, as he's so, we like to scream his name in my channel. We go, Brian! And then he'll so, him on Twitch Sings. But I also met just some amazing people who contributed to my growth. And I think that was probably the most important thing to Twitch Sings. Hi. Hi.
Hey, B. Liddy.
Hi. Anyway, that was the most important part of the Twitch Sings app for me. It's not even like your stream growth. It's not even perceived fame. It's not even anything else, but the people you meet, how you help them, how they help you, and the family that builds, and it's a hard hole to fill in these past 4 or 5 months since it's gone away. But I'm encouraged to see, the content creators like you, Gloop Dog, all those folks like trudging on and continuing, and we can all keep supporting one another in content creation. And anyway, but we met on Twitch Sings, and you guys all know that iDan has a crazy, amazing baritone voice.
Oh, thanks. I love to sing.
We all do.
Yeah. Well, Pash, now I get to talk a little bit more about those current projects that are keeping you busy. I really missed that Twitch Sings. You're absolutely right. It definitely left a hole that it was filling during COVID. Yeah. It's so sad. What else is keeping you busy though these days? It could be professional or anything.
So much.
Anything. Yeah. What are you doing? You could talk about what you do on your channel, etc. What keeps you busy?
Well, it's like a 3-pronged existence for me.
Yep.
So I'm a parent, full-time, somewhat single, but I do have Brian here to help me out with my son. So I have a 12-year-old. He's go too much into a rant about it, but he's a twice exceptional child. And what that means is he's gifted. He was identified gifted and talented like in kindergarten. He was reading Roald Dahl level books in kindergarten, like with ease. He finished the rest of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It was like one of my favorite memories of him as a child. We were reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and we were halfway through the book, and I was like, okay, sweetie, it's time for bed. And he's like, oh, can I read a little bit more? And then what parent would say no? And so I left the room, and he came back at about, 11 p.m. He's like, best book ever. So we're talking like 2 hours later, he had finished it.
Wow.
And I'm like, are you sure? And I'm like, what happened to Mike TV? And what happened to Violet? And he had the detailed recollection. So that's basically when we knew he was like really, really special. I mean, every mother thinks their child is special, but in my case, he's legitimately smarter than everybody else. If you stop by my stream on Wednesdays, he and I game together. He really, really likes playing video games. I mean, he likes streaming too, in any way that he's allowed to. Like at 12, you're not allowed to. But the other side of that coin is he has combined type ADHD, which means he has inattentiveness and then he has impulsivity. So he's almost impossible to medicate. If we were to pick something, it would send like in either direction.
Oh.
So it's very tough. But because he's so smart, he was able to overcompensate for that lacking in school. So what we're running into now, he's in middle school. We're running into organizational challenges with him, and also keeping his interest, and also pandemic. All of this has been happening from home. So that eats a bunch of my time, trying to get him to do homework. And, but he's a terrific kid. He's a really, really, he's my pride and joy. I love him to pieces. But yeah, remote school has been a disaster for us. But the other thing I do during the day is I work for a nonprofit here in the Northern Virginia area. It's called Pant Alley. They teach songwriting to children. They do songwriting workshops for children all over the country. We've been doing it in the virtual format, much like this, in the streaming world. And this week I had the opportunity to work with my boss and a group of middle school children. And it's just so amazing, their creativity. And they're so capable, so much more capable than you would expect, to write songs. Like really the heavy chunk of it is the literary piece, the poetic piece. And just some of the things that they come up with is amazing. Majority of the children have been writing about COVID, and how they miss their friends. That's just the theme that rings so true right now. Like lockdown has really, really affected them. I know, right? Especially in the middle school age,
Yeah.
They're so much more social. I think when they're in kindergarten, they're just really, really wild. But
poor kids.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So there you go. But then I stream. I'm trying to build music content. I'm trying to become a better piano player, guitar player. And we also do video games. Minecraft has become really, really fun, unexpectedly fun, because a lot of people in the Twitch Things community are Minecraft players. So it's just one other way we can all hang out. And really my goal with streaming is to gather people. Like I just want people to get together. And like that's where I feel happiest, is when people are gathered,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, you're right. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially right now when we're all kind of staying separate, So anyway, there you go. The long and the short of it.
That's what Twitch Sings gave to me. I'm fortunate that me and my friends and I, we have sort of an extended group of friends, and we've been getting together like once a week to play games or just hang out and chat online. We actually got into Among Us, which was pretty cool because they're not like really gamers or anything like that, and that was a lot of fun.
It's easily accessible.
Yeah, it is. But that's what Twitch Sings gave, and there was that community that was built in and was just super supportive and so beautiful and nice. And we were able to like gather. It felt that was like, I was like, oh, we're still able to gather. And then they took it away from us.
Yeah. And it seemed like can I tell you the irony of my job?
Yeah.
The woman who hired me used to work for Sony on behalf of DMCA, and it's like, damn you, damn people like you who forged this fucking law. She's terrific. Yeah. She's terrific. She has great leadership skills, and anyway, so yikes. I just thought it was ironic, and I'm like, let me tell you how I feel about DMCA.
Yeah. So now we're gonna push on to the Leftward Bound portion of the chat, Pash, we get to ask you about your pathway towards leftism, even if you don't consider yourself a leftist specifically. That's fine. It doesn't matter. You don't have to define your ideology or your politics if you don't want to, Pash. But of course, you're encouraged to do so if you want to. How about we start that? Talk about your political pathway in life.
My pathway is very interesting, and it might be unsavory to some, but I am a person who believes in what's best for the people. And I think there's so many philosophies in what is best for the people. Like in current times, like I believe there should be mask mandates. I should, this, that, and the other. But I feel like government always fucking lags years behind the morality of the people, like legislation, et cetera, et cetera. Like in gay marriage specifically. I remember like there was never a point in my time in my philosophy where it shouldn't be allowed. You know what I mean? But when did we get that legislation that DOMA was struck down? I forget when that was. 2013 something? It's insane.
Are we talking about when the SCOTUS, the Obergefell?
Yeah, SCOTUS.
Was that like 2016?
Struck down defense of marriage.
I can't remember. Yeah. 2014.
Well, that was...
Yeah, maybe 2013. Yeah.
Something like that. I know my son was born and I was still attending church at that time. But it was kind of everybody freaking out about that at my church. Really it turned me off. It soured me and I left. And I was like, I can't deal with you people because you're not acting on behalf of the needs of like people who are legitimate. You know what I mean? Like they're someone getting married doesn't hurt you. But pouring taxpayer money into the military industrial complex of the United States of America hurts so many people. You know what I mean? So there's like an inconsistency in philosophy and like this hive mind mentality that people get into is what really bothers me, In the same way, like I was upset George Bush went to war completely unfoundedly. You know what I mean? I did not like how we Bill Clinton bombed, went into Mogadishu, but did not act in Rwanda, et cetera, et cetera. It's, if you were also a really, really strong way I vote, in particular with the presidency, is foreign policy. Foreign policy for me is number one, because that is where the president has the most influence, or at least should have the most influence. And my foreign policy tends to be, please just leave people alone. I feel like America has done and westernized nations in general have done so much harm to Africa, indigenous people everywhere. So if a president, I think a lot of presidents have gotten elected because they're like, we're going to leave people alone, and then I think it's just we're so entangled with so many countries. Like we have bases in Korea, we have bases in Germany, we have bases, So that's. Anyway, did I go off on a tangent there?
No, you hit a lot. You hit a lot of points. A lot of other people are hitting, and I'm not knocking you for unoriginality. I'm just saying, yeah, these are a lot of things that move people to the left one way or another. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. The military spending. You're sort of finding yourself more anti-interventionalist. I want to ask, if I can, about you leaving the church. That one was just like, whoa. That sounds really fascinating. And I wonder if that's a plant that we should revisit sometime in the future, or if we could touch on that real quickly. What experiences, like what do you remember happening? What were people saying? What do you remember, like their their feelings and their arguments being at the time that pushed you out of the church?
It was really, there was a couple of things, but again, when everybody lost their fucking minds about defense of marriage. Mm-hmm. Being struck down, that hit me. I was like, that's fucking stupid. We could be doing so much more. First of all, like these are people too. And, if you want to get down to the brass tacks, I don't think Jesus would have hated anybody or wanted this treatment. But then I was also involved in a preschool program. I love working with kids. Absolutely love working with kids, even though I swear like a sailor. But and one of the women I worked with, her son's best friend came out to them as gay. And she was like, I don't know if I can let my son hang around with his best friend. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? See your face there. It's like,
They're serious. Yeah, they are.
what? Like, these are not my, this is not my morality, you know? And there's knowing the history of how society has treated homosexuals, transgender, it is disgusting. You know, Alan Turing is probably one of the greatest examples of injustice. And you know, that you've seen the movie Imitation Game. That guy ended the war like 2 years sooner, and that guy saved countless lives. But like, they locked up his record for nearly a century, and they chemically castrated the guy. You know, so some people, they let this, like, you know, homosexuality completely overwhelm what good people have done. Even if you were to say this is bad, you shouldn't be doing this, holy shit, look what they did. You know, but bar none, homosexuality is not a sin, and like, get the fuck over it. You know, and so that's why I like the philosophy of just kind of letting people lead their own lives.
Okay.
You know, there's also like kind of the topic of abortion. I mean, I didn't choose to have one myself, but like, I don't want to lock that decision down for other women. You know, I feel like that is the stirring of your individualism. You know, like, some women can't pay or support a child. You know, sometimes the guy is not around, and sometimes they're 16, and you know, just make your decisions for yourselves. You know, let live. So anyway, I think I went on a tangent again. I'm sorry.
All good. No, that all fit into what we were talking about. I'm loving the chat, Pash. This is truly great. We're touching on a lot of different things. Live and let live. Just let people live their lives. You know, if they're not harming anybody else, generally speaking. Yeah,
exactly. There's a lot of that with like female sexuality too. Like, if a woman has a baby outside of marriage, if a woman has sex, you know, outside of marriage, there's so, like, it was always so okay. Like, oh, dude, you know, I found like this internalized misogyny as well. Like with Bill Clinton in particular, it's like, it's okay. He's kind of a douchebag with women. And I've kind of come around to that. Like, no, it's not okay. You know what I mean? It's not okay for you know, to have the two sets of rules for men and for women.
it's also a war criminal, but I'm not to diminish. Not to diminish. I'm
Don't
sorry.
get me
I just
started.
realized, a little, just a little bit of both there. Yeah, just what can you do? All right, Pash, let's move on. Let's ask you in this next category, hashtag be best. So if you had the chance to go back in time, maybe teach a younger version of yourself some life tips, be them just general life tips or, leftism related life tips, or if you just, just give general advice to someone who's listening, because time travel is not real.
No. Despite what the Avengers may try to impart upon us, no. I would say to myself, you're worth it. I would time travel like 13 years ago. Like, your voice is worth it, and you are worth it, despite the fact that you have flaws. That was something I really, really dealt with for a long time. Like, I'm also recently divorced. I got divorced about a year and a half ago, and I was married for a very long time to a Republican. Sorry, I just had to let that one simmer for a bit. But
Wow.
I really felt for a very long time like a second-class citizen because I didn't have a hotshot job. My ex-husband was a physician, still is a physician, and I was in a family of very high achievers. And I felt like I've been in therapy for a couple of years now, and the best way to describe it is like Play-Doh being shoved back into a jar, forced back in. And I would say that it's going to be okay, that you should behave the way, or you should be who you want to be, and let people gravitate towards that. The people who are worth it will come your way. And, I've had a very fulfilling relationship with Brian because we kind of have this little bit of the same brain, both musicians, maybe both a little bit messy, but our values are very, very lined up. And I think a lot of young women need to hear that too. Like, just because your values are different than your partner or it's okay. Let it go and just continue to focus on yourself. Twitch Sings really gave that back to me. This singing, in particular, like people seeing value in me, with my voice, et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't feel that way for a really, really long time when I was married.
Gosh darn it, Pash. I love your face.
Anyway.
You're wonderful.
You're worth it.
You're full of wonder, and you're worth it. Fuck yeah. I love that. That's such wonderful shit. I think a lot of people are going to love hearing that, Pash.
I hope so.
Good stuff, Pashley. Okay, so that brings us then to the Leftist Inquisition. It's the questionnaire. No one loves it. Everyone hates it. Wait, did I get that backwards? Okay. You could pass or skip any question you like for any reason. I don't care. All right, Pashley, do you have a favorite word?
I was thinking about this before, and I thought I had an answer. I love the word meow.
Yeah.
I guess that's more of a noise, isn't it? I guess it's dual purpose. But
we do have noise coming up. We do have favorite sound coming up later. So it's up to you. I'll let you choose.
My favorite word is love. We'll move meow till later.
Love it is. Do you have a least favorite word?
Word love. Love. That's so fucking cliche.
I actually don't think anyone said it. So points for originality so far. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a least favorite word, Pash?
Moist. Everyone probably says that.
I've heard it.
What?
I've heard it a few times.
I hate that word.
Yeah.
I hate that word.
It's pretty bad. Is it just what it describes, or is it also the way it sounds?
The way it sounds, and without getting too gross, what it describes, and in particular, like sitting down in a leather chair for hours at a time. Like swamp ass. I guess I'll just say swamp ass. There it goes. It's like a psychosomatic reaction.
That was a very specific leather chair, sitting down for a couple hours. It's roughly 87 degrees outside, humid.
Let me tell you, that's my first trip after I'm done streaming. Is like I'm gonna go take a shower.
All right, so the next question is about a favorite drug or vice or guilty pleasure. Pash, if you like, you can name one of each.
Okay, my favorite drug is caffeine.
Delicious.
My vice, man. I think we can all say video games.
Yeah.
Like video games where I can play with other people. So like I love League of Legends.
LOL.
Lol. Lol. Just get some aggression out. Does anybody like become a different person sometimes? Like Brian plays Rocket League.
Same.
Speaking of another toxic league game.
Yeah.
I'm like, who are you?
I don't like who I become when I play that game, but I love playing that game.
Yeah, what is it? What is the drive? Is it like the unleashing of that like aggression that we try to keep tampered during the day? You know what I mean?
I don't know what it is. I just want to hit that ball into the goal so hard. That's all I want to do.
Plus, how long are those games? They're like 4 to 5 minutes?
It's like a 5-minute game without, and then there's like little replays, but about 5 8 minutes total add up.
That's how they get you. It's like, oh, it's only 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes. I can do one more.
I love Rocket League. I know I should do training modules more, and I would get better. I just don't care. All I want to do is play the game. Yeah, people get so toxic. Lots of trash talking. All right. This isn't about me though. This is about you. Back to the noise. Sound or noise that you love? We were gonna go with.
We're gonna the sound. Water running.
Oh. What with the cat meowing at the same time?
And with the cat meowing at the same time. See, this is in my brain. Like I said something 5 minutes ago, and then I'm like, whoop, there it goes. No, but there's something soothing about, like, the Nora Jones song "Come Away with Me." She's like,
Oh my God, I love that song.
wake up with the rain falling on a tin roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I love the sound of running water. I would be that person to put on running, like, nature sounds. I'm drawn towards rivers and mountains, in my own experience. Like I just love nature. Um, and just being in a shower and hearing white noise. I think it's a matter of white noise, because in utero we're used to hearing blood flowing. They tell you to get white noise machines for your children, for your babies, and it helps them sleep because of that. So very specifically, water noises, water running.
That's good. Do you have a sound or a noise that you dislike or even hate?
Chewing.
Yeah. Other people chewing, mouth open.
I cannot stand it, and it becomes from, like, my sister, my older sister, when we were younger, used to do it to annoy us. So there's also, like, I hate the noise, but then there's the emotion attached to it. Like, why just shut the stop chewing that loud. So, but there's also misphonia. Isn't that that's a legitimate thing?
It's a thing. Yeah.
Thing. I hate it. And in our early dating days, Brian and I were hanging out on Discord a lot, and he just didn't understand, like, chewing directly into the mic used to grate my brain, like, right down the hemisphere. I'm like, mute yourself when you're eating,
That's just a deal breaker. In fact, I just broke up with him.
Okay, well, I'll let him know.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Gross. All right. So the next question is about cheese. I don't think the question works like this. If you were born in France or Wisconsin, you get more than one answer. Otherwise, you get one answer to this question unless you break the rules, in which case I can't stop you. What's your favorite cheese?
Brie.
Brie. Delicious.
The buttery brie, not the. I also love Manchego. Manchego is really, really good. If I'm gonna go with a like a goat cheese, Manchego is really, really good.
Delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Do you then the next question is the reincarnation question. So if you came back as a plant or a non-human animal, and if somehow you had the choice, what would you pick?
I would like to come back as a turtle, because turtles, first of all, live a long time, and they seem to have so much chill. Like, the representation in Finding Nemo I love it, because they're like, dude, relax. The kids will be fine. We parents stress out about their kids a lot.
Yeah.
Turtles just lay the eggs, and then they go off, and, like, it'll be fine. The sea turtle, yeah.
Sea turtle. Ride the wave, dude.
I'd be crushed. I also, because I want to live in water. Like, if I could I was that kid who loved going to the pool every day, and I liked kind of looking up out of the water. I don't know if anybody can relate. Like, I loved being able to dive deep as much as my ears could allow the pressure, and I love looking up. I'm like, being surrounded. I don't know. Feels like you're being constantly hugged.
I love it.
So.
I love it. All right, so now we're at the God question. If you, at the end of your life, you got to heaven, the pearly gates, and there's God. God says something to you. What do you want it to be? What do you want him to say?
You did your best.
Yeah. You did your best.
You did your best. Now come have some brie. We have a brie fountain over here.
Check out the brie fountain. I imagine
the charcuterie, and then the cheese fountain.
Like an unlimited charcuterie table. Oh, give me that charcuterie.
That would be my heaven.
Yeah. Check out the charcuterie we got. Come on in, Pash. Love it. All right, then. Do you have an influential leftist in mind? Be them, dead or alive. Anyone that you'd like to meet? You could define leftist any way you like.
So this was a tricky one for me, because I generally just hate politicians. Like, I just hate them. However, if I'm going to, I would love to sit and have lunch with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Just
okay.
just everything after seeing that movie that on the basis of sex, and like, being one of the first women admitted to Harvard Law in a situation where there's not even women's bathrooms, and living in a world where you're not even allowed to have a credit card, where you're not, what she means to women's rights. If I'm going to talk about something that's like so important to me, like that would be it. And I would like to pick her brain about that. And anybody who rises above adversity the way she does, or the way she did, I think everybody has a, but I'm also trying to resolve myself as I go through my own personal healing and growth in life is that people have potential for really good things, but they also have potential for everybody has flaws. There's potential for evil. I think Daveed Diggs had an interview about playing Thomas Jefferson, who's slaver, but here's this philosophy and here's what he did for the country. Which anybody can feel free to disagree with me, but he said it basically, he was in this way he was great, but in this way he was absolutely terrible. Same could be said for Walt Disney. Walt Disney gave us so much. But goddamn, he's an anti-Semite, and the same goes for Wagner. You can talk about, I'm kind of expanding the category to, creative people. Richard Wagner was a huge anti-Semite, and he did horrible things to people, but incredibly influential in music and leitmotif in particular. So it's tricky.
So the next question piggybacks off that question. Mm-hmm. So if you could meet Ruth Bader Ginsburg and have a hypothetical conversation, maybe you could ask RBG what they think about you and your life. Maybe, it's only been a few years since they passed, if that, maybe a year or so. What do you think they think about the world since she's passed, or anything else? How might a hypothetical conversation with RBG and you go?
I think she would be extremely disappointed who succeeded her. And I think she would be encouraged that the country came to its senses a bit, about the leadership. And I hope the country comes to its senses about information. So I think that we've gone in the right direction. She would be encouraged by that. I am not a person to, I don't know how to say this. I think the fact that people let their politics and let this radio talk show host or this person supersede facts and scientific facts, it has been the greatest tragedy of the Trump administration and the politics and the rhetoric over 4 years. My stepdad flat out refused to get vaccinated because he listens to, I don't even know who he listens to. I think that person needs to be canceled, but like, he's like, oh, I'm not getting vaccinated because blah, 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 blah. And I was like, but herein lies the problem, So I think she was kind of a person. She worked with Antonin Scalia. Like they were good friends. They were pals, and they had their policies, but they also had their friendship, So I think your politics have to be important to you, but you also have to see the human side of things. Like you should wear a mask. You should get vaccinated. You can still, within reason, be friends with people, So, I can't stand that. I cannot stand when people kind of take the marching orders of the party and compromise their own principles. And I think she represented that, she marched to the beat of her own drum. I'm ranting again.
You're not. You're doing fine. That's sort of like, I don't know. Expect people to rant. Like I give you a question. It's a stupid question. Just you're supposed to rant. Okay. You're doing a great job. No, I don't feel like you're ranting at all. But I'm loving this. Okay. Loving it. Okay. So the next question I believe is yeah. Do you have a favorite leftist book or maybe an author or a resource you enjoy?
Can I tell you, I'm so glad you asked that question because there was a book that completely changed my life, and we recently revisited it we were driving up and down from New Jersey. It's called Gang Leader for a Day.
Okay.
By Sudhir Venkatesh. I could probably find the link and send it to you, but it's a book about a guy who goes above and beyond the call of duty as a sociology. I believe he was in his master's at University of Chicago, which is in, I don't know if you're familiar with Chicago.
I'm in Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah. So the area in surrounding the University of Chicago is the South End. That's where Obama was born and raised. And it's rough. And I feel like sociologists, he makes the point that sociologists often use this thing that's going on around them as kind of like a zoo exhibit to study and get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not actually changing anything. So he goes in and starts talking to Black people and gets and finds himself in with this gang. I believe they're called the Black Kings. And he really gets into the nitty gritty. It's almost like The Wire, which is a great show, by the way. If anybody's not watched that, 20 out of 10 recommend that. And he's talking about like just the inner workings of this gang, the sociological impact in that neighborhood. They kind of keep order. They police more than the actual police do when it's in the interests of the community. And the way this JD is the name of the gang leader, and he talks in morality. You know, I just want to bring the people around me up, but it's done in this horrific way. We're trafficking drugs, we're selling drugs, you know. But it was just so interesting, and I almost think to myself, with the right access to education, a stable home environment, and not surrounded in that environment, what would JD have contributed to the American economy, to the world? Because like some of these gang organizations, the mafia organizations, they run smoother than a lot of companies in the mainstream that are, you know, legit, you know. So there's a certain genius there. And that's what's most fascinating about the book is what people grow up into and how they grow, you know, so to speak. And I think there's a lot placed on like, well, you know, Black people are just bad, right? You know, the gang leaders are just bad. And there's always another side of the coin. There's always a human experience there. And I wish the rhetoric was a little more humanized, you know, like, well, what the hell else are these people supposed to do? They want to feel safe. They want to feel like their lives mean something. You know, anybody wants that in any socioeconomic situation. So it's a great read. I would highly recommend reading them, but I would consider it leftist.
Okay.
Do you have an opinion on that, or?
I haven't read it. I have no idea. I don't know the author. Yeah, that's all good. And yeah, it's again, I asked the question, and people could define leftist any way they want. You know, anything that sort of pulls or pushes them left. Yeah, whatever works, right? I'm not a gatekeeper here.
Okay.
All right, Pash. That allows us to ask you, as a streamer, as a viewer of streams, what streamer tips do you have? You can think about beginners or veterans alike.
So I've been at it for about, you know, on and off 2.5 years. Wow. I want to say, like it started off as I'm kind of telling my story just to tell a further story. Okay. I started off as it was like kind of an escape for me, and it was a way for me to meet people, and it has never been anything but that for me. And I would say to anyone new to streaming, figure out what you really, really like to do, and make that about your content. Don't ever make it about money. Don't make it about fame, and focus your attention not on numbers, but on what your content stands for and the community, what you want your community to look like, whether it be an XQC like community or someone more wholesome. That's all up to you, and know your boundaries. Like, I think the thing with Twitch Sings is we were all like, oh God, I want to go sing with this person. And it was kind of like an endless well. There was like some kind of high we were getting, but like, know your boundaries and make time for yourself. You know, because you can't pour into a community or a stream if you're completely burnt out. And I think burning out is one of the biggest things that happens to streamers. You know, and that means different things to different people. You know, some people love to stream all the time, and that's what fits their lifestyle. For me, I can't do more than 3 hours a day because of my family life and my work life, right? So I stream about 3 to 4 times a week, and there's the schedule, right? And you're better off figuring out a slow trickle of a stream schedule and not taking 2 months off, like when you're burnt out, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to have that regular recharge. Because I've heard from some people like, oh, I took 2 months off and then my audience is gone. And it's like, well, that's kind of the nature of the business. So that also, yeah, those are the big things.
Awesome, Pash. Yeah, great advice in there. Excellent stuff. All right, Pashley. Next question is for you. If you have any questions for me, do you have questions for me? Also, I'm going to go ahead and invite the audience to ask Pashley any questions that you have. And you can ignore everything you don't want to answer. It's just that easy.
I think you guys could tell I'm a pretty open book.
Cool. Yeah, it's great. All right. So how about we start? If you have any questions for me, Pashley, and then we'll see if Chad has any for you.
So I'm kind of curious, how much time a week do you spend on that back end stuff?
Oh, like these days? Not that much.
Not that much.
It's like, it's sort of like
in the
built.
First push.
Oh, well, oh gosh. It's always been like an evolution. So there would be weeks where I would, I'd work like 30 hours on the stream back end, like as I was like building the foundation of it and learning lots of different things, lots of researching. It's not always like I'm just like tinkering away on the stream and like getting things to work. I'm often like watching videos and trying to troubleshoot or test. And then there's this thing that happens where like you have your stream do one thing and then it does another thing. And then if they're going on at the same time, you got to get them to get along. And then you start to see how it can sort of like build like that. But there was a time where I was working tons and tons, but these days I've like, it feels like I've done most of the work unless I want to add something new. I'm like coasting at this point. I just get to show up each day and hang out. But yeah, it took a lot of time.
I think that's so important for streaming is like the technology, having that stuff ironed out. And it's because my boss does, we do live stream concerts like bi-weekly almost, but 2 times a month. And it's just so funny that the way that they stream is so crazy to me. They stream off of Zoom.
Yeah.
and he uses a Mac, and God bless him. Like, if people have their things, they have their things, and can't change it. And but what he complains about most is there's always something going on, and it takes your audience away technically. And having that, like, all that ironed out is so key to the content, Yeah,
and there's like a lot going on, a lot to be aware of, and eventually you get better at dealing with it in time, and you learn to use stuff like Touch Portal, which will deal with a lot of things automatically. You could just stop thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. I have to look up Touch Portal, and I still need to set up Move on OBS. So.
Oh, the Move transition? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's such a smooth thing. Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yep. No. I'm not seeing. Are you still religious? Is the question. You've stopped going to church?
I don't go to church, and I'm a person who spent most for childhood and most of my adult life too. Like, I have a church gig and I go and sing, and I'm a ringer, right? So I go and bring beautiful music.
So a ringer is someone who sings in the choir.
Yeah, or just like
to
someone
bolster
who's like
the old ladies.
There, like,
yeah.
So not as much anymore. I mean, this is going to make everybody cringe. I used to love listening to Christian contemporary rock music, but like the super watered down, like, you're here, you're always here for me. So like on a personal level where it's positive, and if I'm in my worst moments, I like music is kind of religion for me in a way, whether it's choral music, rap, etc. Because there's nobody writing a song about how much they hate homosexuals. There's nobody writing a song about hate necessarily. I mean, there's that Disturbed song, I think, Down with the Sickness. Is that Disturbed? I forgot.
That's about gay people?
No, not about gay people. But in the middle of that whole thing, he screams like, "Fuck you, mommy, go fuck off and die." Like, so I guess what I'm saying is like songs that incite,
Sure.
I think most people are writing songs about love, heartbreak, and there's like kind of like catharticism and transcendence. And I think music is such a vehicle for that. And I think that's been the common throughout humanity. I've studied music. Another tidbit about me is I have a master's in music, and there's a lot of music history study in that. And there was a lot of paper writing, and everybody basically wants to be taken to another plane. And just the avenues have changed. We have music production techniques now that weren't available in the early 19th century. And, and if you look at like German poetry and German art songwriting, it's like, it's talking about music transforming your life and bringing you to another place. There's the connection with nature, the connection with, rebirth, and also in particular with French art song, which is interesting because French art song was kind of popular around the French Revolution, and things were changing in France. And there's this whole rebirth theme, so that's, if I'm gonna give my religious inclination, it's kind of towards that turning your sorrow into hope and turning your sorrow into something productive. And even though I don't attend church anymore, I always want to try to see the best in people too. And I don't know that Christianity is the right vehicle for that for me, because there is a lot of judgment and there's a lot of sexism. There's a lot there. So, but I don't pray anymore. I don't do Bible studies anymore. I put all my religious books into a box, and I'm going to bring them somewhere. I don't know yet. So.
And I think that's fascinating, especially because you've mentioned in the past, I do believe your father is a religious author, like an apologist.
He is. Yes, he is. I could give a link. My dad that could be a whole discussion.
Yeah.
My dad, he is a published Christian author, but he used to run finances for Foot Locker, for real estate firm Cushman & Wakefield, for Yankee Candle. If you're old enough to remember the company Filene's, my dad is he's a financial genius. He's a company numbers genius. And there was I won't go too much into the details of what happened, but he kind of 180'd and went into, he got not a PhD, but something else. He's a doctor of divinity. And so he does podcasting and all this stuff. And I'm like, good for you. That's making your life meaningful. Insofar as how he views it, he doesn't slap people across the face with like, "Oh, you're homosexual. You should not be that." He kind of distances himself from that philosophy. But it is very interesting, and he also has more followers than me on Twitter, which I find. He has 45,000 followers. What? So I'm like, what am I doing wrong? So we kind of went opposite directions, There's also there's a residual. It didn't help. Like my ex-husband was born and raised Catholic and knows the Bible better than a lot of Christians, but he's atheist.
Oh, is he?
He's very rational and scientific. And I used to pray like all the time, like, oh, maybe he'll love me. Maybe he'll see me as something special. And like that, it just never happened, and there's a little bit of me who's like, man, I could have used this from you. And it didn't. But that family was my ex-husband's family was very Catholic and very, like you really got to work hard for your approval. And I don't agree with that philosophy. I don't. It leaves so much out of the equation.
Well, Pash, I'm going to go ahead and say that this has brought us to the end of the interview. This has been such a wonderful chat, full of wonder, and we planted a lot of different seeds. I am very much looking forward to our next chat, and I'm hoping we get to, continue this and return and see what seeds we've planted, what's grown, and what new seeds we want to plant, and we'll just continue the conversation. Hopefully next time we chat will be the second chat, so we can ditch the format and we can just get right down to brass tacks and
As you
hang
can
out.
tell, I'm it's very difficult to keep me on format.
You're perfect. I'm not, honestly, Pash, this is perfect. This is exactly how it's supposed to go. This is it.
Yay.
This is the thing. This is the interview. Such a nice time, Pash. So nice to get to talk with you and get to know you a little bit more. We invited you here in the spirit of building leftist unity, strength, and power. In that spirit, thank you for being willing to share your story and your thoughts and opinions and everything. You're a wonderful human being. I'm very much looking forward to our next chat. Pash, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
So we're doing the awkward exit now. Is that the portion?
It's a little bit of the awkward exit. I'm going to say peace and solidarity, comrade.
Peace and solidarity.
All right. Oops. Yep, that happens every single time. Don't worry about it. Oh, okay.
Nothing happened? Nope.
All right. That was Princess Pashley. Yeah. Princess Pashley. Hey, YouTube. You're watching a clip from my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/iDanSimpson, where you can follow for free and subscribe for only $5 a month. Thanks for watching.